Hello everyone, a wonderful day to all the participants, which is included with the partners and the new customers, and also for our resellers. And for this successfully completed, we have for the Endpoint Central training program for the last 6 series. And so today is actually the last session of the series, which is dedicatedly for the MDM. So we are going to be looking to the MDM related security features, which would be supported from the mobile device manager. So let me introduce myself. So this is Bhaskar Govindan. I'm a senior product consultant and I'm associated with ManageEngine for the last 6 years. And I will be taking care of the training and the implementation for the customers. And in today's sessions, like I said before, so we are going to be see how we can secure the mobile devices with our digital workspace and also how we can control the devices management with our mobile device manager. So today agenda for this training program, so we will be looking into the overview of the mobile device manager plus and how we can manage the applications and as well as the OS updates with our MDM. And we could see the remote troubleshooting and also asset management. So which is like an inventory. And also we are going to be looking to the lost device management. So when the devices is lost, how we can control it with our MDM console. And also we are going to be see how we can control the mobile data, which is handling by the managed devices from the MDM. And finally, we will be looking into the integration. And last but not least, so we are going to be have a Q&A session, so where you can shoot out your questions and at the final of this training session. And also we have our panelists in our chat, so you can shoot out your questions to them and they will be answering you immediately. So first we can see what is the unified endpoint management. So the endpoint management, which will allow the admin to manage their IT assets with their unified endpoint management and security console. So what are the devices that we are going to manage? So for example, so we could manage the laptops like a Windows and Mac devices and the desktops. And also we do support the mobile devices like a smartphones and phones. And also we do support the Chrome OS devices. So these are the features and functionality that would be supported from the unified endpoint management and security, which is a tool like a suite, so where you can manage your all the IT assets with one console, like a ransom protection and remote device management, and also you can do the application management for your endpoints. So these are the mobile devices and the desktops and laptops that we do support, which is like a classification of the devices that we could manage with our Endpoint Central UEMS product. So this is the core capability where we can suggest this to our end customers and the end users when they are utilizing for the UEMS, where they will have the onboarding, which is very easy process. They will have the multiple options whenever they are trying to onboard the devices. And also it will give the end user experience management, and completely it will be secure the endpoints with our security management. We have the security add-ons as well with our UEM suite. So these are the OS flavors that we do support with our UEM product. And along with that, also we do support with the mobile devices like Android, iOS, and iPadOS, and also the Chrome OS devices. And also we are recognized with our Gartners, so where we are being highly certified tools on the 2024. So now we can look into the endpoint security. So what is the proactive and what is the reactive? So usually whenever we are as an admin, so we are managing the endpoints with our business tools and the data, and which is very main thing. So we need to be very proactive in the security measures whenever we are managing the devices. So after we are done and come across with any scenarios, we are going to be only for detecting the issues, and we are going to be responded to the issues analysis. And when we are going with a proactive method, so we will be able to control the devices because we are going to be manage our data with our endpoints. So these are the parameters that we have. So whenever we are going with a proactive and reactive method, and when we are in a proactive, so we can securely audit the devices, and also we can configure the threat intelligence and the zero trust for any other negligence on the allowing for the URLs on the company environment network, and also for the managed devices. And also we can complete with a vulnerability assessment for our endpoint management. And the same way, when it is in a reactive, so we can configure the geofencing. So after we have started managing the devices, how we can control the devices within the location with the geofencing, and also we can access the control of the devices with our endpoint security tools. So now we can see how we can control the devices in the real world scenario. So now our business is actually started to be utilize the mobile devices like a smartphone, tablet for their business purpose. For example, let's take an example for an medical industry. So they are actually providing the tablets to their medical representative. So for their activity, they will be using the enterprise applications, which is very securely accessed on their tablets, because that will have the patient's PII information. So that case, we need to be very conscious on handling the data on their managed devices. In that case, we have a multiple options where we can control the devices with our MDM. So that is actually also come under the compliance parameter whenever we are going to be handle the PII data. So in this session, so we are going to be see the overview of the MDM and also the real world scenarios with the device configuration and the customization. Along with that, the data security. So these are the devices we are going to be managed with our MDM console. So which is mobile devices and also laptops and desktops, and how we are managing the devices. So the MDM and endpoint security and endpoint management, it is like a server agent module where we are installing an agent on the managed devices to manage it with our MDM console or an endpoint central console. So we use the MDM app for the Android devices, which will be get installed while we are enrolling the devices. In the previous sessions, we have been covered for the enrollment process. What are the enrollment options that we have with our MDM for the different kind of a OS platform and different kind of the devices. And also we do support the automatic and as well as the manual options, so based on the availability from the customers. And for other platform like Apple and Windows and Chrome devices, we use the MDM native clients, so which will be come along with the OS platform, and we take the leverage of that client, and that will be managed as a client for our managed devices. So this is our simple architecture of our endpoint central management. So we have a different component. For example, so this is the primary server of our endpoint central. So when it is in a WAN architecture, and we do have the secure gateway. So because whenever we are trying to manage the mobile devices, of course, we cannot expect those devices will be only within the company network. So that will be roaming around different location, and we have to manage those devices from our MDM central server. So then we need to go with the secure gateway server. So because our central service URL should be reachable from the devices, then we can secure the server URL with the secure gateway server. And also we are reaching the devices with the notification services. We do support with the Apple push notification services for Apple devices. So same way we are using the Firebase cloud messaging system for the Android devices. So what will happen? So whenever we are initiating any commands to the devices, it will be reaching to the notification services, and the notification service will wake up the device and will apply the any changes that we are applying. For example, applying the policies and applying the any application distribution. So that will be happen through the notification services. And now we can come into the real world scenarios. So just take an example. So as an admin, I'm running in a tourism business enterprises, and I have a different team. So of course, it is in a tourism department business enterprise. They will have the different kind of the teams under the one business. For example, marketing, sales, HR, and the finance level. So we have to manage different kind of the devices and for the different kind of the purpose. So how we can manage the devices within one console? So we have the solution where we can create the groups and we can create the different kind of a profile for different devices. And also the sales will have some specific requirement from the application level. And the same time, so the finance will have a different kind of application requirement, and also they will be going with a different kind of restrictions where they should not be accessing for any URLs, and they should be only accessible for some URLs on their managed devices. So we have options to control all these kind of departments within one console. So now we can see how we can manage the OS update. So for example, why we need to manage the OS update. So for example, if any devices which is not in the latest update, which will be in a very outdated OS, then it will be causing the issue with the security compliance, because latest security patches should be updated for our managed devices to keep it very secure, because we are managing our data with their devices. So that's why, so the devices have some prerequisites for to be managed the OS update from the MDM console. So the iOS devices should be enrolled as a supervised, so which is the corporate devices. And the same way, if it is an Android, the devices should be Samsung, or it should be enrolled as a device owners, which is a COD, corporate owned devices. So these are the two prerequisites. So whenever we are going to be manage the OS update from the console. So let me take you to the control. So how we can configure the automated OS update for our managed devices. So this is our endpoint management and security console, and we have the MDM module, and also we do support with the MDM as a standalone product. So under the management, so we have the automated OS update, so which would be currently supported for the iOS, Android, Chrome, and Android custom firmware. So this is not only for the Android devices like a Samsung. So we do support the Honeywell and Zebra devices, which will be the OS update will be come under as a firmware. So you can download the firmware and then you can upload it as a file. Then you can distribute it to the Honeywell and Zebra devices, for example, to get up to date. And for the Android, so we have the options so where we can control the OS update. We can configure for the automated OS update as well. So immediately we can push the OS update to the managed devices, and also we can delay the update if we don't want to be interpret on the production environment. And in case if we wanted to be schedule the OS update for the managed devices for not to interrupt on the production environment, so we can schedule it with this option. So this will allow us to create it for the schedule window, and also we can do it with the deployment window with the time frame. So we do have the freeze period. So whenever we wanted to be freeze the OS update up to 90 days, it will be allowed. And also we can notify the end users, so they are getting OS update pending for their devices. And as an admin, we can inform them. So as we are configuring the automated OS update. So once we have configured, so we can apply to the devices groups. So like I said before, so we have a different department like a development and the sales, and also we have the finance department. So we can create the groups here, and then we can associate it. So once we are associating this policy to the group, it will be applied to all the devices which are mapped under the selected group. And we can choose the multiple groups if they are come under this policy criteria, then you can associate. So this is how we can control the OS update, and also we can configure the automated OS update for our managed devices. The same way we can do it for the iOS. So currently we have the immediate option, and also we can delay it. And whenever we are performing the OS update for the iOS devices, of course, Apple have many more restrictions whenever we are performing it from the MDM. And then we can go with the forced OS update whenever the devices are locked with the passcode. So what will happen? So the devices will be removed with the current passcode, which is set by the end user, and then the forced update, OS update will be happening. So then it will ask the end user to create the new passcode as we are configured with the profile configuration for the password criteria. So this is how we can configure the OS update for the iOS devices as well. And in the latest versions, also we do have the version which is actually pending for the devices. If you have managing the iOS devices, iPad and TV OS, if any latest OS is actually pending for the managed devices, it will be listed over here and you can choose it. So you can identify the devices which is actually not up to date on the OS level. And also we can create the policy then for the respective devices. So this is how we can achieve the automating the OS update for our managed devices. Either it's the iOS and Android devices from our MDM console. So now we can see how we can control the devices. Like I said before, so what is the configurations policies? So we have the profile configuration, so which will allow us to control the devices functionality from our MDM console. Let me take an example for the Android. So we have the profile configuration option, so which will allow us to create the passcode criteria for our managed devices. We have a two criteria. One is in the passcode criteria, which is the device. Whenever we are enrolling in a devices as a corporate one, we can set the entire device passcode with this device option. And also we can create the passcode criteria for the Android devices when it is enrolled as a BIOD for the work container alone with this work profile option. And also we can go with the OS level configurations from the Android 12 and above. So we can go with the complexity of the passcode. And if the device is running with the 11 and below OS version, then we can go with the pattern, numbers, alphabets, and alphanumeric values. And also we can set with the passcode criteria based on the business requirement. Like the same, so we have the restrictions options, so how we can control the device's functionality. For example, if the device is enrolled as a corporate one, and so the devices should not be accessible with a camera application for some compliance reasons, so then we can create the policy with a restricted camera, then we can associate it to the managed devices with this option. So in this way, so we can configure the profile configuration where we can secure the devices and the device functionality can be controlled by the MDM console. So this is how we can configure the passcode criteria where we can protect the devices by accessing unauthorized persons. So now we can see how we can securely distribute the corporate data and how we can secure the data within the devices, where we can go with the profile configuration and the content management for the data. So the data content management and also the profile configuration for the data sharing come into the picture to secure the corporate data. So first we can see how we can distribute the content to the managed devices. Instead of sending any ops manual and any of the file document that you wanted to be distributed to the managed devices to the users, instead of you wanted to be go with the share drive or emails, so then you can use of this content management, which will allow you to upload the file here up to 1 GB of file. So you can upload it here. Once you get uploaded, then you can distribute it to the managed devices with this option. So this will allow the end user only to access the file with their MDM app. So it will not allow any user to access with any third-party application until the admin is actually allowing the end user to access the file with a third-party application with this policy. So if you wanted to be allow the end user to access the file with a third-party application, you can create the policy here, and then you can choose the policy whenever you are trying to distribute it to the managed devices. And also you can provide them access all this criteria like a download settings, like a manually on automatic, and also the screenshot and screen recording while opening with a document with this option. So you can create the policy, then you can choose the policy while you are distributing to the managed devices and groups. So this is how we can securely distribute the data to the managed devices. And how we can secure that data. So for example, we have enrolled the devices as a BIOD and we have a two work container, but we wanted to be prevent the end user moving the one document from corporate application to the personal application. We do have the option, so which will, for example, let me choose the Android profile configuration, and dedicatedly for the BIOD, we have this workspace security. So by default, if you see here, all these options will be in restricted mode because will be restricting the data sharing between the work profile and the personal space applications, where it will be restricting the cut, copy, paste as well for the content from the managed application to the unmanaged application. And then we can save this file profile configuration, then we can associate it to the managed devices, which will be preventing the data sharing between the work and personal applications. So this is how we can control the document that is sharing between the application, and we can control it with the content management and as well as the profile configuration. So you can identify the applications when it is enrolled as a corporate one. So it will be create the work container on the Android devices, And with the briefcase option, so you can identify the application that is belongs to the MDM management, so which is having the company data. So definitely whenever we are managing the mobile devices, of course, we wanted to be very cautious when we are using the applications and wanted to be prevent the end user installing any the application which is not being approved by the organization. So we have two options. One is with the profile configuration, where we can prevent the end user to install the application. So with this profile configuration, under the restrictions, so we have the application, we can restrict the end user to install and uninstall the application by restricting these options. And then we can apply this profile configuration, which is a preventing method where we can control the end user to unable to install the and uninstalling the application by their own. And another option, if in case we wanted to be allow the end users to install and uninstalling the application, but we wanted to be prevent for installing in a specific applications, we have the inventory under the apps, which will be showing all the application in our organization. It will show all the application which is already installed on our managed devices, and also it will show the application which we have added into our app repository. So in case if you wanted to be blocklist this application for your organization, you can choose the application from here. Then you can blocklist for all the devices. Also, you can choose for the specific devices. You can understand that. So this will be allowing you to go with the different department requirements. So for example, sales will require that application, but the same thing, the development will not require that application. So this group selections will be come under the picture. So where you can go with the different kind of applications. So based on the requirement, you can blocklist it for the respective groups. So this is how you can see. And also we do have another option. So once we have blocklisted, so in case of the devices got installed with the application, you can see the count. So which is the devices got installed with that application. And you can take over the action on those devices by clicking on this option. And also as an admin, you can take an advantage where you can immediately uninstall the devices with this uninstall immediately option. Once you have choose this option and save this one, immediately the applications will be removed and uninstalled by the MDM console. And also in case if you wanted to be notify the customers to uninstall the application as it is get blocklisted, you can notify them with this option. So this is how we can control the applications. So where we can whitelist the application by adding into the app repository, and as an admin, we can distribute it to the managed devices. Under the inventory apps, we can control the blocklisting application for to restrict within our environment. So then we have to be very cautious. So because when the device is managed by the MDM and we wanted to be only allow the end user to accessing certain URLs, or we need to blocklist some URLs for the business requirement and the compliance purpose. So we do have the profile configuration, so which will allow us to allow and blocklist the URLs for our organization devices. So for example, as I'm an admin, so I am going to be manage the hospital environment. I want it to be only one URL, so which is an hospital URL for the nurse. Staff should be used for the patient registration. So then I'm going to be allow the only one URL, so which is belongs to the nurse actually activities. So then I can go with this, apply this profiles to the all the tablets for the nurse department. And in case I'm going to be manage the hotel management, the tablets will be located on the rooms and the guest will be using the devices. And I wanted to be blocklist the some URLs which is should not be accessible from the tablet of as an organization purpose. Then we can go with the blocklisting URLs, or we can go with the list of URLs which can be allowed for the guest to be accessed with the managed tab. So here you will be getting a manual option, so where you can add the URLs manually here, and also you can upload the CSV file format, so which will allow you to upload the list of URLs which is actually entered in the CSV file. So this is how we can control the URLs that can be accessed on the managed devices by the MDM. So the encryption method. So whenever we are managing any devices, the disk should be, the external storage should be encrypted with our MDM console. So we do have the profile configuration. So where we can go with the encrypting the devices storage. So this will allow us to encrypt this storage. And for the Android devices, usually, and for the iOS devices as well, usually it will be encrypted with a passcode. And when it is get enrolled, so it is also will be restricted. So whenever we are trying to connect the devices with any laptops or desktops, it will be showing that we need to enter the passcode to access the file from our devices and or any other PCs that we are connected with the devices. So we can control all the devices functionalities. So we will have the huge options where we can control the devices control with this option, like a devices connectivity and the network roaming, and also the browser restrictions, so the applications level and the sync and storage. So it will allow us to control the devices as well. So lockdowning the devices with a specific application. Like I said before, so we are actually, as an admin, I'm managing in a hospital environment devices, and I'm going to be locked the single application for my nurse teams. They are going to be used the tablets. So which is only required for one application to be accessed with their tablets. So then we have the option which is called as a kiosk. So the kiosk will lock down the devices with a specific application, and not only for the specific application, also we can restrict it with a web shortcut. So like in a web application. So if you have any web application, you can add the web shortcut here with this option, whether you can go with the browser and the restricted browser access. Once you have created, so you can choose the application from this dropdown. So for example, so this is your business application, and then you can lock the devices with the specific application. So where end user will not have the access to any other options from the devices end. So this will be locked on the screen, and they will be having access only to this application on their device end. And also we do support with the multi-app mode. So for example, if they are going to be managed with a multi-application as a business, and we wanted to be allow the end user to access 4 or 5 or more than applications for the business purpose, so then we can add it here like in this way. So we can choose it. So before that, we need to add all this application into the app repository to whitelist the application, and then we can choose the web shortcut as well if we require to be allow it on the kiosk mode. So then we can see the devices is actually locked with this applications which is allowed in the list. And also we have a customization option where we can add the pages as per the customization. So we can create it. And also we do have the option to create the folders to grouping your applications. And once we configured, so we can restrict the end user to modify the settings if we have customized the screen, and also we can restrict it with this option. So this is how it will be looks whenever we are allowing with the application and the web shortcut for the end user usage with the kiosk mode. And also we have other restrictions when the devices is locked with the kiosk mode. So whether we wanted to be set with the volume control, so where we can control as an admin, and also we can restrict the power button and also the back button, so which will be allowed for the admin from the kiosk mode. And if we wanted to be allow the settings app for the end user because of connecting with the Wi-Fi by their own, and also they wanted to be adjust the brightness, and some applications will require for the orientation like should be portrait or it should be in a landscape mode. So then we can allow them with the user control, and also we can standardly set with the profile. So this is how we can control the devices with the specific application and the web shortcut. And also we can go with the multi-application whenever it is required for the multi-application should be accessible within the managed devices. So for example, so the same way, let me take the same example for the hospital environment. If the nurse is using the tablet for the patient information tracking, and the devices should not be go out of the hospital range. So how we can control the devices? So we do have the option, which is a fence location policy. So these options will give us the fence location creation with a map view. So we can select it from the map view. So you can choose the location. Also, you can search it with this option. Whenever we are searching, it will be showing the exact location of your environment. So then we can create the fence location with this option. So this is the office premises where we need to be control the devices within this fence location. And also we can set the radius with a kilometer and meter option. Let me go with the 200-meter option, and then we can create the fence location. So whenever the devices within this location, that would be considered as a compliance devices based on our company policy. And the devices, if getting out of this fence location, that would be marked as a non-compliant devices based on this fence policy. And on those devices, we can initiate the frequency as triggering the notification to the admin. And also we do have the another criteria, so which is the not within. So some reason, some compliance reports will restrict the devices to getting into the particular location. So that case we can choose with the not within criteria, and most of the cases we can go with the within criteria. So where we wanted to be control the devices within the location. So on the non-compliant devices, we can go with the frequency immediately notifying the admin as stating the devices marked as a non-compliant since violating the current geofencing policy. And also we can customize this message so based on our requirement. And also it will be initiating the non-compliance report to the end users by checking this option. For the best practice, if we wanted to be prevent the end user still the devices marked as a non-compliant, then we can go with the action commands. The action command will allow us to initiate the loss mode where the devices will be locked with the screen, and also we can add the admin mobile numbers here, so it will be populated on the screen. So whenever the device is locked with the loss mode, and until admin releases the loss mode or the devices is getting into the location, the geofencing location, so it will be locked with this loss mode. And also along with this, we can initiate the ringing alarm on the devices when it is marked as a non-compliant with this option. So this is how we can control the devices within the location forever, and also with the criteria of not within, where we can restrict the devices get into the particular location. So we have a devices. Of course, the mobile devices will be roaming around the globe, and we have to take the control. And whenever the end user facing some issues, so we need to take the devices over the remote control. When the end user explaining the issue, so we have to get the control of the screen to troubleshoot it. So we have the option under the management and the tools, which is remote control option. So with this remote control option, so the devices like an Android, which is enrolled as a corporate owned, we would be getting a remote control option. So the remote control options will give us the remote control. Like we can see the screen, and also we can access the devices screen from our MDM console. We actually using the Zoho Assist for this remote session for the managed devices. And the same way, if the device is enrolled as a BIOD, for example, Android devices, we would be getting a remote view option. So the remote view will allow us to view the device's screen from our MDM console. And the same way for the iOS and iPad devices, we would be getting a remote view option for the supervised and as well as the unsupervised devices. This will allow us to view the device's screen, and also with the remote control, we can do the troubleshooting. And with the remote view, we can assist the end user by viewing the screen, and we can navigate them to the troubleshooting options. So this is how we can do the troubleshooting from the MDM console, where we can sit in the admin place and we can do the troubleshooting across the globe for the managed devices. So now we can see if the device is misplaced by the end user, and how we can protect the devices data as well from our MDM console. So with our inventory module, so we do have the option like an geofencing, which is also an option for to control the devices within the location. And when we are going with the inventory, so we could see the devices, because whenever we are enrolling any devices, it will be initiating the inventory scan and it will be fetching the inventory information for our MDM purpose. And here you could see the option, which is like enabling the loss mode. Whenever you are come across the scenarios, the devices is actually misplaced by the end user and we wanted to be protect the data and we wanted to be lock the devices manually, then we can initiate the loss mode manually from here. And also we do have the locate device option, so which will allow us to view the device's current location in this geo tracking option. So also we can see the device's location from this map view. So this will show all the devices that we are managing if it is in a global level, and you could see all the devices location in the map view. And also we can initiate the remote commands like enabling the loss mode, and also we can initiate the wipe commands to the devices whenever the devices come under the scenario which is not in the control. So this is how we can control, we can locate and we can control the devices. And also if the device is actually misplaced anywhere within the office location and we wanted to be identify the devices, we can initiate the remote alarm to the devices where it will be start alarming, and then we can identify the devices. So for example, if any managed devices, so whenever the devices is actually getting enrolled by the end user as a BIOD, if the devices got jailbroken or it is in a rooted devices, we wanted to be preventing those kind of the devices getting into our management, where we have the business data which is managed by the end user devices, and we wanted to be thoroughly check the devices before it's getting into the management. So we do have the option in the enrollment side itself, and under the Apple category, so we have a remove jailbroken devices option. If we have enabled this option, so we need to save these changes. For this one, for the Apple devices, it should be installed with the MDM app along with the enrollment. So when we need to check both the options, because this activity will happen through the MDM app. So it will identify the jailbroken devices, and also it will be suspend the enrollment process. And if any devices is actually already enrolled, it will be identified as a jailbroken after getting enrolled. And if the end user trying to jailbreak the devices after managing the devices, it will be removed from the management since it is violating the management policy. And for the Android devices, we do have the options where we can check all these options, whether it's a rooted devices, and if the devices got failed with the basic integrity checks, and also the devices which is not Google certification passed, then we can restrict those devices to get enrolled with our MDM console with these options. So this is how we can control the devices which is not secure and which is, should not be into our management with this MDM app management. So now we can see how we can control the threat defense for our managed devices. We do support with the checkpoint harmony, and where we can detect the severity of the checkpoint agents, and also we do have the control. So with the checkpoint management, so we do not have the capability to restricting with the checkpoint mobile threat defense, but we can identify the devices with this checkpoint harmony, and then we can go with the profile configuration. Like I said before, so we do have the profile configuration with the huge options where we will be controlling the device's functionality and other features as well. So then we can use of this to monitor the devices and identify the devices which is need the high severity profile restrictions, and then we can create the profiles with this option. Then we can apply to the respective device groups or individual devices. So this is how we can share the devices. For example, if devices should be shared by multiple users, let's take an example for the hotel environment. So single tablets which will be handled by the attenders, so that will be handled by the multiple users, where we cannot go with a single user for the one tablet. So in this case, we have the option, so where we can configure the devices as a shared device. So we can use the local authentication with the directory services by integrating with our MDM console, and then we can configure the devices as a shared device. Then it can be used by the different users by entering their Active Directory credentials. So whenever the end user accessing the devices, they can enter their credential and they can start using the devices for their day-to-day work. And once they can complete it, they can log out the device, and then the other user can start using the devices by entering their credentials. So this will be applicable for the when the devices is actually located on the room services, and also it will be the guest devices. So we can utilize this shared device management. So for the different kind of industry, so based on the requirement. So associating the configurations and for the profiles, so which is like an automating process. So for example, I'm going to be enroll multiple devices, and I have already in place with the profile configurations and applications. I don't want to be go for each devices and each groups for every time when I'm trying to enroll, and I'm going to be associate the profiles manually. So we have the option with the enrollment. So whenever we are trying to enroll the devices, let's take an example for the Android with the invite enrollment, which is considered for the BIOD, so which is a personal devices. We can create the group previously, which is located in our management groups and devices part. Then we can choose the group here. So whenever I'm trying to enroll the devices, so this devices will be mapped under the respective group. And whatever the profile that I have associated with this group and the applications and the content management get applied immediately after getting enrolled the devices, because this is how we can automate the process after devices got enrolled. So we can distribute the profile automatically by associating the devices under the respective groups. So where we are automating the process of assigning the groups for the respective devices with this option. So which will be easy by our activity like associating the devices to the respective group, and where we can choose the groups in the QR code enrollment as well. So for an example, so we can choose the group, and for the QR code enrollment, we can create the multiple template for the respective groups. And then you can scan the QR code for the respective group. Then this QR code will be scanned and the enrollment process will be done. So the devices will be get mapped under the selected group. So this is how we can automate the process of assigning the devices under the respective group, where it will be automating the profile association and as well as the app distributions. What are the other like a block listing the application? So because we will be doing block listing the application association for the group level, and also we have been applying the app update policy and OS update policy, everything to the group level. So once the devices got associated with the group, automatically it will be applying automatically from the backend. So this is how we can automate this process. So now we can go for some scenarios. How we can notify the employees. For example, as an admin, I'm planning for an activity for this weekend, so which is in a month and weekend. So I'm going to be planned for the OS update for all the devices. And also, I wanted to be informed the end users through their managed devices. We do have the management announcement option, which will allow us to create the announcement with this option. So we can customize this page with our information, like an announcement title. For example, I'm going to be going with the testing, and the content we can go with the message option. And in case if you wanted to be get the acknowledgement from the end user, so we can enter the text so which you wanted to be populate for the acknowledgement, and then you can choose whether it should be mandatory or it should be not a mandatory one. So based on the announcement type, so you can choose the icons as well. So then we can create the announcement. We can associate it to the respective devices and groups. So this is also will be come under the picture of associating to the groups. And whenever we are trying to automate the process, this also will be get applied to the devices. So this is how we can initiate the announcement for the organization and user devices from the MDM console. So we have the integration. So for example, we do integrate with the Service Desk Plus. So what is the purpose of integrating the Service Desk Plus with our MDM console? So for example, if any devices and the end user wanted to be report any issues regarding the device, and they wanted to be get some application for the business purpose, for the department requirement, so they can initiate the request. What will happen? So the service desk will have the informations of the inventory of the devices which is collected by the MDM, and along with the creating the ticket, it will have those informations of the devices with that ticket, which will be easy to identify the devices and what is the requirement and which are the applications we have it with our app repository. So with this request, we can add the application into the app repository, and by whitelisting that, and also we can distribute it to close the ticket. So which will be easify your work as an admin whenever the request comes from the end users, for an example. And also we do support with the other tools like a Jira Service Desk and ServiceNow and the Zoho CRM, Zoho Creator. And in case if you wanted to be integrated with any other third-party application, you can access with this link, so which is the www.manageengine.com/mdm-api. So we have the multiple options with the API informations in our product website. So you can use of that to integrate with your other third-party application. So this is a simple Zoho Flow integration. So we have a integration with our Zoho CRM. And in case, for an example, you are onboarding a new employee into your organization, and they wanted to be associated with a new device. So this options will allow us to easify your integration, the flow of the Zoho CRM workflow for the new employees, where they can get the devices and it will be tagged into the user information. And here we have an example for the travel request, where we can integrate with the Zoho CRM, and there is a travel applications which is available with the Zoho, and the end user can initiate the travel request, and then it will be sending for the approval for the approval persons. And once it is get approved, it will be moving forward to the next process, like a check the encryption status for the devices, because whenever they are trying to travel, so the encryption should be happening. So based on the profile configuration, and also they are going to be approve the travel request. And in case if the device the request going to be not approved, then it will be going to the denied the travel request, where we have this integration with our MDM console, which will be easify for the devices management whenever the device the end user going to be traveled. So this is the basic benefits of the integration of the Zoho Flow. So we have a different kind of ensuring the data consistency for our MDM with our MDM tool, and also we can customize to the meet the specific needs. So if anything is required from the end user side, so based on the business requirement, we can take it as a feature request, and also we can work for that request to be achieve the expected behavior. So now we have come into the end of the session. So we have shared the information for the endpoint security and the mobile devices security with our MDM console. Now we can have the live Q&A. I will be available for next few minutes for you to address your queries. And I hope you are getting addressed by your queries by our panelists. And also you can rate us with this training session, like 5 is the best one. And also you can rate our product with your experience after the session. So you will be getting a rating scale, and then you can rate our training session and also the product experience. And also, so regarding this training session, and if you wanted to be share some comments and the words regarding this training about the product on this platform, so you can also use of this redirection URLs. Then you can spread the words regarding this product and the training sessions. And if you wanted to be having a one-to-one session for the demo or POC to understand more about with your requirement and where you wanted to be clarified all your requirement and the queries, you can initiate the demo request. After the sessions, you will be getting the options as well, along with the rating the session, and you can raise the demo request, so where we can connect with our technicians to get addressed all your queries and the requirements. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for the great opportunity to provide this training for you all. And I would be waiting for the next sessions, the next series. We can connect over there and then we can have the same sessions. And also I will be waiting for your request for the demo to address all your queries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a great day.